We got plenty of stuff to talk about here tonight. I'm going to be going through all of it, and I've got the thing up to be able to see your comments when they come in. And let's see. Take a look at the. We're going to go through the news today, but I logged a lot of what I want to talk about right here on my Facebook, which I usually do. If anyone doesn't have me on Facebook, follow me, add me as a friend. You can follow my Twitter because it feeds from the Facebook. It's totally public. Unfortunately, I'm going to be eating at the same time I'm talking to you, so feel free to comment on the page if you want to talk and talk about topics. Let me know, but right now we're just going to talk about. It either looks like there's a mutiny going on, or they're making it look like there's a mutiny going on. So it's one or the other. Not quite sure which one it is. The thing is that I know that they have so much control that that we're more likely in the latter, which is like they're making it look like we have a mutiny going on. And it's not just that, but maybe a kind of alliance with those who are in the mutiny, with those who are at the very, very top. And let me take a look real quick as to what's going on. Okay. So I don't really want to see. The thing is I don't want to screw it up because either way is good news for me, for all of us, in a sense, especially for people who are oppressed by the whole thing. But this girl's name was Jana Winters, and clearly she was compromised. I'm not sure what, but I'm not going to get too much into it. But it looks like she's. I'm sorry, I don't want to make myself a target or whatever, but definitely look into Jana Winters. Or add me on Facebook or on Twitter. Okay, I'll get into it. Basically, she's the one who ran the story about the notebook, and there's some discrepancies coming up with the notebook, and they all got afraid and they started blaming it on the Fox News reporter. Well, now they're subpoenaing that Fox News reporter to go into Aurora and testify about what she experienced with regard to people telling her about that notebook, ran that story, and it scared the shit out of her. And it looks like to me like she's threatening the people involved with telling them about what she may have experienced, which was a gun being pointed at her head and being chased with an electric chainsaw. And there have been stories before of these cabal members using an electric knife to cut up little children, basically. So, that's clearly a for her to be brazen enough to say that, in her motion or in her letter or whatever, is, I think, maybe indicative of what's kind of going on, and maybe they're seeing it too. So have no fear, my friends. I'm strongly relying on your comments tonight, because there's so much of what I want to talk about is extremely bombshell, and it's kind of getting weird for me to talk about it now, because it's like I don't want to mess it up for us, and at the same time I don't want to get myself killed messing it up for us, basically. I don't know, but you can definitely see changes are occurring. You can definitely see that. The question is, what do you guys think as far as where the changes are going? What are they trying to do? Who's trying to ride it and stay on top of the changes? And And that's just such a big deal. I can't believe I missed that. You know, this is one of those things where other people will talk about something, they may even hear something and never fully comprehend the background story. And I have the worst problem, you know, taking the time to dig. I hate to dig. What I like to do is I like to skim. And just as a whim, after Facebook updated their thing, I saw that you could click on the hashtags. And so I decided to click on the hashtag for theater shooting and found out that the judge and the defense are infighting. The defense set up the judge trying to save their own asses. Hilarious. It's so over for them. They need to just run. Oh, man. Hmm. I can't tell. Maybe they're being placated. Hmm. So funny. They can't run and they know it. They'll be killed. That would also suggest that that's what they get. That's what they get. They didn't see the biggest picture. They didn't see the biggest picture, did they? Mm. Mm. They only saw about as far as their little boat. They only saw as far as their little nice little life. A little too fat and happy, a little too lazy, while the rest of us are out trying not to kill ourselves. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. So the Zimmerman Trayvon thing looks like you've got the defense saying that Trayvon he found it weird that the state weren't willing to bring up the father as a witness, and that coupled with what looks to be like crime scene evidence, crime scene evidence, specifically Trayvon's body being tampered with. They're running a picture right now of Trayvon, who is supposedly at the crime scene, but it does not actually look like Trayvon. It looks like it's been staged. You know, obviously. Once again, I don't understand what I'm saying new here. I'm just trying to remind you guys of what I already said, which is that they are, and what it has looked like for a while, they are patsying a very large portion of the shadow government. Yeah. You know, you can't really ever tell. I don't know, maybe they've made a religion out of always taking the route to make everyone surprised or something like that, but no. No, I think this is about as surprising as you'll get when this happens, when this is done. Timetable would suggest definitely before the end of the year. Maybe in the middle of the fall semester here. I don't know, but the Bohemian Grove is in fact meeting up. And I bet you that shit's going to be empty too. Tomorrow, they're going to be there for 2 weeks. What do you think they're going to talk about? Are they going to celebrate their operation that they see occurring now? Don't know. I really don't. And then it's a matter of how compartmentalized is it? Do all of those people there not even know what's going on yet? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you what they aren't liking. They don't seem to be liking Israel. They don't seem to be liking the Zionists very much. They definitely don't seem to be liking Obama. Nope. Not at all. And they might be liking libertarians. kind of hard to control the libertarian agenda, though. So, you know, I'm just throwing these things out there. So, let's see. Thank you, Michael, for the compliment. Love the live chat. Killop, what do you think of the riots being threatened if Zimmerman is innocent, or the threats of the Black Panthers to declare war on the whiteys to go around killing him? I don't know, but like I said, I don't think that this was the purpose of the psyop. It looks like maybe they're trying to make it out like this is Obama's purpose of the psyop. But what do I think is the point of this whole trial that has been postponed to this point is that they are tackling the issues of what I call other people call reverse racism. And when you know, if you would have, let's say you pierced into the cabal and you held some of these cabal members hostage with a gun to their head, and you said, start fucking talking about what y'all are doing. You'll learn very quickly that white people were the primary target for subverting this nation. You'll learn very quickly that not just were white people being targeted, but you'll learn what they were actually doing. Like every moment, every little aspect of the media was used to psyop the shit out of and attack white people. And so what we have is a very engineered white guilt society that they have to run these sort of operations because they're repurposing this. This was originally an attack on the Second Amendment, an attack on Castle Law, specifically the Castle Law here in Florida, which was where the Tampa RNC was supposed to take place. Anyway, I don't know why it failed, but apparently it did, and it turned out to be an uber convenient way of tackling the reverse racism issue, because you've got this guy who not only is he questionably white, but he falls into a category which is like not white but also Jewish. He has a Jewish last name. And I thought this was a COINTELPRO operation, a honeypot operation, where they had some Black Panthers come out in Jacksonville, and these are probably informants. Anyway, they were just saying, we don't have no problem with the white people. We're going after this Jew. You know, we're going to protect ours, and et cetera, et cetera. So the core inner power structure is doing the best they can to not inflame the situation to such an extent they're sending a tropical storm / hurricane over here into my state in order to chill people out. But let me tell you something. Unless they stage a black people revolt or something like that, the black people just are not, I would say that they might, because let me go ahead and tell you that you can see the depression on their faces recently, because they have a very single identity, a certain single consciousness. A lot of that is engendered through this. Basically, there has been this engineering of their social identity through, massive Federal Reserve funding, and their entire, so they do, once you get the ball rolling, all of them are on sort of the same ship, which is like, oh no, don't attack this engineered social perception that we have by screwing it up for us, and despite that, they're constantly screwing it up for themselves. But I don't want to attack anyone too much. I mean, what we've got to do is the truth has to come out. The truth has to come out. But it's like when you see stories like some guy with red hair and a comb over walking down the street was picked on by a bunch of black teenagers, and then knocked out so that his body laid in the middle of the road and he got run over and killed. It is at that point that you realize that maybe the black people need to kind of tackle their racism problem publicly. You know what I'm saying? So will the unless there's a compromised police agency, compromised FBI, which there are, and especially in Orlando, I don't see just black people. It's not a problem, and in general, the black people who even pay attention to politics and stuff like that are typically and they're community organized people, and they're also church going people. And you see, what's his face? Django Unchained is just irrationally like getting other black people to say it too, which is just like, I'm going to support Trayvon no matter what, because, you know, and then he's just like ignoring all the evidence, and you see the other black slaveries like, yeah, 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 and, you know, like justification, justification, justification for slavery. And it's like, bro, when y'all were slaves, the king was basically ruling over all the white people at that time when the institution of slavery was done. And forget about the Jewish role or the African role in the slave trade. Let's just talk about the fact that the Americans, after they rebelled, and this has been totally covered up, the founding fathers tried very hard. They even created a country. That country is called Liberia, and they were going to deport all of you guys because they knew that you would have had that it would have helped race relations. And that was in Africa. Take a look at it, American Colonization Society. Look at how Lincoln was trying. Stop it! Stop! I'm serious. Get down. I was trying to eat my sushi. The American Colonization Society. Lincoln had the goal of co-opting the international bankers-funded abolitionist movement in order to then forcibly legislate, pass laws to deport the freed slaves to either Haiti, or which was a free slave state at that time, or Liberia. And people say, oh no, that's so racist. It's like, we're not going to do that now, but you just need to know that needs to go on the record, okay? That, you know, when white people became free from their own form of slavery, white people tried to end the institution of slavery. The international bankers were actually protecting the institution of slavery in the South to such an extent that the Russian Tsar saw it and said he was going to intervene on behalf of the North if he continued to see that the South was being funded, because they were trying to split up the states. Since day one, their goal has been destroy the United States. Then, when they passed the Federal Reserve, suddenly it was like, no, no, no. Now the United States is our puppet. Now we're going to force our hand up the rear of the United States, and we are going to use this United States to give everyone the illusion that we live in a free society, that we live in a free world. Well, you know, unfortunately, along comes the internet, and along comes, you know, great, wonderful conspiracy theorists who, working together, woke up and repatriotized everybody. Okay, so Kinatar, I'm behind the power curve on the recent theater shooting shenanigans. Definitely check out my featured video, which is titled James Holmes Based on Me and I Blew the Aurora Up. And just, you know, whether or not I'm right about everything, that will basically lay out in thorough detail everything that you need to know about that Aurora shooting. And, you know, you know, what do I know? I know maybe 15% of everything that there is to know about that, but regardless, it's everything that matters. But when it comes to like whatever is causing the state of Colorado to be dividing to such an extent that even neighboring counties in Nebraska are looking to form a 51st state in the U.S., that tends to indicate a lot. Okay, that's another star on the flag, like I say. That's a big deal. That's U.S. history. So something's going on. Why would people write over this? Why I should write about the NSA? The scariest thing that you are seeing right now is that they are learning that no matter the level of stupidity, no matter the level of exposure, their dumbing down of the public has pacified the public. But you can't be sure now, because the mainstream media only reports what it's going to report. But I will say that as I'm driving or walking around in public, I literally just want to go postal and then start slapping everybody in the face. Just running around slapping them and punching them and saying, what do you think about the NSA scandal? And then they're like, what? I would have slapped them right there. Slap. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I'm not going to do these things. But I will say that the public, I hope things get around, if only, and maybe even the power structure enjoys this too, the morbid fascination, the sadistic salivation in our mouths that will come from educating the public of how ignorant they have been. Because when you know the big picture, and you know what they were doing, and you know how absolutely ridiculous it was to not even understand why you should value pieces of paper in your pocket, to not even understand, to not have even listened to the Bible, to the wise men of old, to not understand your own flag or your own country. That will be a very hilarious time, and people think, oh, that's just nerdy, and it's like, wait, you know how like you're alive right now? Well, they have this thing called nuclear bombs, and like you'll be alive, and then it'll be like you're not alive, all of a sudden, instantly. Does that not freak you out? That exists. It's not nerd stuff. It's real. People control that. Crazy people were controlling that. They're also fucking little children. All right. I don't care about that shit. I just want to get out on my, you know, I just want to get out there and praise Jesus, and no offense to Christians or whatever, but just can't handle it, man. Just can't handle it no more. All right, let's go and look at the work. The extremist new Black Panthers Party has predicted, quote, unrest all over America if George Zimmerman is acquitted, although the group denied that it was organizing right. The Black Panthers, like the Aryan Nations, is a COINTELPRO-ridden front. They will effectively, that is a honeypot operation. Now, it depends now. They could do something with that. I'm not going to say that. They could do a lot of things. They could do stuff with the Snowden thing. They could get the Snowden thing, like I suggested earlier, take down surveillance state, and they blow up a nuke, and then it's like, sorry, you'll never, ever have unmonitored stuff ever again. So could they do that? Yeah. Have they done that? No. Is that indicative of what their goal is? Yeah. And anyway, with the Black Panthers saying that, what they're doing is they're trying to get black people to get on the phone and say, I just feel like going out and beating up old what's his name because of what he said, and then suddenly the FBI agents show up at their door. Hey, look at, and then toss a little bit of crack or pot into their house and say, look what I found in your house, I mean, that's kind of what I think is going on there. Because any of these organized groups like that are very, very easily, very quickly infiltrated by operations within the power structure. So, I mean, they're sending a hurricane over here, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. In fact, some of these black hate crime stories may even be a way of pacifying the blacks. Like they're like, oh, we're not getting any representation in the criminal, outrage, and then they see a story about a black person massacring some poor white person over it, and then they're like, oh, okay, all right, I don't want to do that. Looks like somebody already did that, so yeah, there you go. All right, so all I know is well, see, now you need to understand now. The movement under damn, what's that man's name? Farrakhan is a legit black movement that needs to be lauded. I mean, they were right, and he was right, and he stood for right things, and there is a similarity between Farrakhan and his blacks and, say, David Duke and his whites, and it's just the truth. I mean, they see what they both blame the Jews, but let's just set that aside for right now. They both see how their own races have been subverted, psyoped, whatever. So you can't just be blaming all black people right now because, look up Louis Farrakhan, look at some of the stuff he talks about. I don't necessarily agree with expanding Sharia law or anything like that, but so I think that some people are just too happy about the idea of a race war. But you guys don't really have nothing to worry about. All right. Yeah, man. Like, I really just can't handle the sheeple. In fact, when I seen the Aurora operation go down, I was like, you know what? Are they going to portray this kid as some kid who hates sheeple? But you never got to see the official story because literally the night of, things started going to shit. So, you know, who knows where they were heading with that. But yeah, the sheeple is definitely a problem, and I hope, for their sake, that Jesse Ventura is right when he speculates that fluoride in the drinking supply, even in the food supply, is to attribute, that, and just the way the education system works, the way the media works, is to blame for so much stupidity, and it just so happens that it's the most disadvantaged people in society, which have woken up because they weren't constantly stimulated. They naturally had to. They were pushed out of society, assuming this is true for most people. They were pushed out of society and then thus had the abstract perspective in order to criticize society. And people say, oh, I'm not some little wrist-slitting son of a bitch, and it's like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you didn't necessarily trust somebody to take your rights, and therefore your rights weren't taken from you. Um, so let's take a look at the. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw the beginning of the broadcast, but I was talking about how this woman, Jana Winters, was kind of revealing what's going on right here. And what we are under is either a actual case of mutiny within the powers that be, or we are under something that makes it looks like there's a mutiny. But I'm actually, either way it goes, it seems to be going in the right direction. That's just my personal opinion. Can they take it in the wrong direction? Sure, but do they want to? That's the point. Do they want to? Doesn't look like it, because if they wanted to, they're kind of making it hard to do so later. Let's see. So I got another comment. Call me what you will, but I believe in the Holy Lord, but not in the man-written Bible. I'm kind of the same way too. There's definitely something going on, and I wouldn't trust in some sort of Bible that was put together by the by a council under Roman government. You know what I'm saying? When the original texts were very many, like the Gnostics and stuff like that. They were just collectively called Gnostics. But anyway, the Roman government basically played a major role in the Bible that we have today. So, one second. I'm gonna go down my wall here. Yeah, like I said, I hope everyone follows me or whatever, adds me on Facebook. Shit, I'm just gonna go and read these to you guys. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. So the judge, they mysteriously, gave James Holmes a different judge here. But anyway, don't do that, Kevin. The judge in Colorado theater shootings has scolded defense lawyers for accusing him of having an improper conversation with the sheriff. So, What did the defense do? So the defense, realizing things are shit is hitting the fan, that they're about to be set up even. Ooh, I'm getting deep now. This stuff can kill me now. But what I'm trying to say to you is that the defense of the people, because what you saw was you immediately saw a lack of contribution from the top towards that cover-up. They were left all to themselves, and they started to eat each other alive, blaming the judge, blaming the defense, blaming the university blaming them. This is all true. I mean, this is all true. Blaming the lawyer, blaming the psychologist. Crazy. Just eating each other alive, trying to implicate each other, afraid. Probably afraid of the public, afraid of the media. There were people in the media holding signs outside once the gag order was extended. And not only did it say, just one of the signs said, "What about our First and Second Amendment rights?" This is before any of that legislation was brought up in Colorado. Somebody in the media had a sign that said, or they yelled it, "What about our First and Second Amendment rights?" And that was mind-blowing at the time. Okay, now, this is post-Sandy Hook and everything. Now it's like, whatever, there's clearly an attack on the Second Amendment. But back then, it was like, what? What did he just say? And even at that time, I was starting to contemplate. I was like, you know what, do they know? Is there like people waking up over there? Okay. Denver AP. The judge in the Colorado theater shootings has scolded defense lawyers for accusing him of having improper conversation with the sheriff. This comes after the defense has made the statement. James Holmes admits to the, and they ran it on the mainstream news. James Holmes admits to the shooting. Then they run another story. The defense is now accusing the judge of having improper conversations with the sheriff. Now they're implying that the police department's in on it. So the defense and Holmes, and Holmes' family, they're all trying to act like they are victims and that they're representing a victim and that they're being blackmailed by the state of Colorado. And it's like, guys, you have no fucking clue what's coming down that pipe. If you had any clue what's coming at you, you'd know. I mean, I don't want to get killed now, but I'll just have to say I told you so. And I know that they will. You know, if you're involved in that cover-up and you're listening to me, you know that if you ran, they would take you out, or they would take somebody in your family out, or something like that. So you got to stay right there. You got to stay right there and keep playing your roles. It's called committing a crime. Did you know that? Once you commit a crime, you've already committed the crime. You can't like get out of that. Okay. What's your take on the Michael Hastings story? You know, I watched as Michael Hastings' friend is talking to Alex Jones, and the friend seems very much legit. At first I was like, you know what, is this friend in on it? You know, in on the illusion? But I really didn't pick that up from him. I mean, maybe he's doing a really good job, but I've really felt like he might have been legit. Now he could be getting disinformed. His friend, Michael Hastings might be alive or something, and is playing a role in this mutiny or staged mutiny. And but maybe Michael Hastings is dead. Now let me tell you why you should hold Michael Hastings in at least some degree of suspicion, and that has to do with. Not only was Michael Hastings allowed to operate against the powers that be back in the past, but that his wife, his first wife apparently, okay, maybe this does show that Michael Hastings was a good guy. His first wife, before she died, was a speechwriter for Condoleezza Rice. Now, if you're going to be a speechwriter for somebody in the Bush administration, then you got to know something. You know what I mean? That's pretty high up there. That's all I'm going to say. That's pretty high up there. And you can't always know all the angles. But I didn't do very much research, and I just skim. You know what I'm saying? Just skim off the top. It's probably a problem with me, but I'm very dyslexic, and it contributes to my abilities. But it's also bad for me because I don't like to. I don't like that because it's just too much damn disinfo, and I hate reading that much bullshit. So it's hard for me to get into it. But the Michael Hastings story is just added to a long list of things that will be used to drum up conspiracy theorists in this country, specifically for ushering in a new age in this country. And are you gonna be turned off by a revolution in this country? You don't. It's hard to want a controlled revolution, but I would rather do that, if only for the chance for justice. Could be controlled, could not be. Could be exactly what the people need. Because if you just go around telling everybody what the truth is, suddenly the meat doesn't get delivered to your restaurant. The employees in your restaurant aren't going to get paid because suddenly it's like, hey, we no longer have hamburger meat here. So you see an actual sort of collapse of, not the dollar, but you see a collapse of the inner workings of society. And so they have to go about everything in a very controlled manner. And I really don't like that. I kind of don't mind the chaos, but I guess we just have to put our faith in their hands right now. Certain recent events have caused me to at least question them, like the Asiana 212 thing, and the bomb that blew, or not the bomb, but the trains, the couple of trains now that have derailed. So cannot quite ascertain as to what's going on with that. That would be an example of a very centralized. Never mind. You see, I feel like they are willing to, they are. It's very centralized right now, but they are making sure that they themselves will be protected. And that's why I said it's a controlled uprising. And then secondly, that's when we have to start entertaining the idea that they've had this in mind all along, that they've had bringing down the conspiracy, if only for the betterment of humanity. I mean, that's kind of what you have to entertain. And it has to be scary for them, it really does. But we have to entertain the idea of when we're in checkmate, well, not when we're in checkmate, but when we're in this they're, I don't know, like they have a lot of power, we have to consider, hey, maybe it's just easy to go along with you, or even possibly to forgive you or provide you sanctuary somewhere. And when you see things like Bush being sort of exiled to Africa to help the African people, that's like a twist of irony, because, who knows what was going on with that. Do I like that? No, I'd rather see Bush getting tortured. Let me just read your comments again. I made a video about Blackwater one time, and I actually made a video in favor of Blackwater. I was like, well, here's a militia, essentially, and I tried to co-opt them. I was like, hey, did you know that Israel considers Christian Zionists to be idiots? And did you know that let's say that you have like a racist leaning, that most white nationalists are on the side of, certain Arabic agendas, etc., etc. They were clearly something that, if you spoke to the right way, would be in your interests. And so it is not clear if maybe some of the it's not clear if some of the things that you see changing now has to do with a change of directive in militia groups, black ops militia groups like Blackwater. Because if Blackwater ended up, which I think now they're called XI or something like that, kind of got tipped off to, hey, Ron Paul's the real patriot. Ron Paul people are the real Americans. And they started allying themselves, which it did look like with at least Romney. And then when Romney failed, and Romney laughed. When Romney didn't get elected, he was laughing. And he was happy he did not get elected. Okay, so that was, and then you saw the Republicans get pissed off. They were like, I just dumped a bunch of money in your campaign, and you're going to laugh. You're going to, I mean, he was laughing on the inside. And you're going to laugh about how you didn't get elected? And these are the kind of people that you see surrounding themselves or being protected by Blackwater types. And don't be too quick to judge these possibly, whatever, hold on a second. Better believe it, dude. You better believe it, man. I agree with you, lopping heads. This is irreversible. This is like about to, they are about to make viral waking up. They are about to literally give everyone a mass education. You're about to see humanity just all of a sudden, everybody's immediately like 10 times better and saner and everything. It's happening. It's happening. Yeah, XE. And because the Boston bombing was designed to fail, some people want to ask, when? When did things turn around? When did they change? And at least here in America. Because they changed for Britain. They changed for Britain pretty soon after the shooting. Britain kind of woke up to their own pedophile network. I might have actually played a role in that. But when it leaked over here into the United States, you'll know it changed when Petraeus resigned. When Petraeus resigned, everybody was missing from their posts. In a very sudden way, everybody got word as to what was going on. But because at first it was controlled, they were using Benghazi to do it as a failsafe. But when Petraeus resigned, you saw something that was not planned, was not forewarned. They used Benghazi to justify it. This is so complex. They used Benghazi to double layer justify it. It's all about where they want to go with this stuff. Right? Bohemian Grove, that meets for the next 2 weeks. If you want to know where it's going to go, you're going to see it happening. You're going to see it happening as a result of whatever happens the next 2 weeks. And you know what happens on July 20th? On July 20th, the mainstream media covers a reunion of that infamous theater shooting. Such situations are very volatile for them. they will at least remember it. But do you know how amazing it is? You know, because before we could just sit here and rant and rave, and there's nothing. You know, there's always this lingering doubt. What if I'm just all wrong? What if what I'm saying is crazy? And then you watch the news now, and it's right there in front of you. That says a lot. Anyway, they're trying to make it look like the mainstream media. Blah, 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 blah. One second. Oh, lots of news today. Somebody ran that story about the 4 pilots' names being jokes. It wasn't a hoax. That was just forget about that. Where's KTVU located? I don't even know. I don't know. KTVU, if anyone wants to help me out there. Stupid cop tries to kill somebody's dog, but shoots his partner instead. Aw, that sucks. So much to dig into. They're so worried about the blacks rioting. I just don't detect that. And even if they rioted, I just don't. I really, you know, because now all the students are back in major metropolitan areas, and even if the blacks rioted, you'll have a number of educated persons and blacks going out there to combat the racism, essentially. So, you know, are they happy? Are they happy about the implications of the truth to their personal or public image? No. And I'm sorry, but it has to start reversing it sometime, you know? It's like, just like that dude who was supposedly beaten up in the broad daylight for being too white. When you qualify as being too white and you walk around through certain areas, you feel that. You feel it like it's like burning you as you're walking by them. You can feel that just hatred, that seething hatred towards you, and it's like I'm no better off than they are. You know what I'm saying? But do you have any representation? No. And is it fomented by the mainstream media? Yes. And you know, it's just not freedom. It's not freedom to be talking to somebody and then have somebody like literally yelling over you, specifically getting off on watching you squirm because they're being racist towards you. It's like, it's just a little irritating, actually. All right. I wonder what that would be like, you know. I wonder what that would be like to not have to deal with that every single time you walk out your door. That'd be nice. That might actually feel like freedom, you know, among many other things that can change. Let's see. I'm not trying to hate too much. I'm not hating at all. All right. Any more comments? None. Oakland. What about Oakland? Let me tell you something, guys. I love ginger. If you want to stay clean, you need to take ginger supplements, take garlic supplements, definitely take vitamin C supplements, and then I also throw in fish oil too. I don't know why I do that, but take fish oil. Those 4 things right there will knock out anything you got going on with you. And then when you get sick, you just double the ginger, garlic, and vitamin C. No joke. One of these days I'll tell you about the aquatic ape theory. But you know what? After you know, if you want to go ahead and leave right now and just watch that, look up aquatic ape theory. There's a specific documentary, not really a documentary, but somebody put together a nice piece on the aquatic ape theory, and it will basically it will explain a lot of what makes humanity unique, and I don't know why I brought that up, but okay. I know there's a lot to talk about. You know, there's tons to talk about. Problem is, I don't want to die. Oh, it's in Oakland. Thank you very much. See, the problem is that the comments come later, and so there's like a delay, basically. All right, let's see. Thanks for answering my question, Thomas. Quick question: what happened in North Korea? Well, I don't know, but I thought when it happened, because the North Korea thing ramped up at the same time the Evan Ebel thing happened. Okay, this is extremely complex because it was very hidden from everybody. But as shit was hitting the fan in Colorado, for some reason, one of their muscle men, one of their hitmen, took out the head of corrections in Colorado. That hitman then fled, and nobody knew who it was that killed him. Killed a pizza guy, then he killed the head of corrections. He flees. The governor of Colorado, Hickenlooper, gets on, and he basically refers to that kid, just out of his Freudian slip consciousness, refers to that kid. This kid is barreling towards Mexico. So he goes through Texas, heading south of Colorado, starts going through Texas. Well, he gets to the north of Texas, totally innocent county. This guy driving over 100 miles an hour gets pulled over by a cop. He kills the cop. The cops of that county chase that motherfucker down, and they kill him. Suddenly, shit hits the fan, because that county finds out that this is the guy that murdered the head of corrections in Colorado. Why? Because he's got a pizza suit on there. Same car description. Amazing. So suddenly, now this situation with Colorado that ties to Hickenlooper is now in Texas. And the nearby DA in that county gets gunned down because the people in Texas are starting to get wise to the cabal out of Colorado running it. But it ain't like Texas up there at the very top doesn't have their own problems. So you started getting turf war through all these agencies. At the same time, they run this North Korea story. And in a way, it was a nuclear threat. It was a threat to the Americans. You better cover that shit up from the international, from the international cabal. You better cover that shit up, or we're going to we're going to bomb something with a nuke, and we're going to blame it on North Korea. Because at the time, there was just there was a move to not blame Iran for some reason. I don't know. So they fell back on this North Korea thing. We're going to blame it on North Korea if you get anything wrong. That's what I saw out of it. That was intense. That was intense when that was happening. All right. And then, hey, why not? What's his face? And the basketball player goes over there and has a good time with Kim Jong-il, and suddenly everything's okay again, Well, whatever. Krill oil is less contaminated and more sustainable than fish oil. Does the same stuff for you. Oh, man, I should try out krill oil. I heard about that. I saw that commercial on that. Let's see. Vitamin D, flaxseed oil, and virgin coconut gel pills to add. I bet you some. I bet you coconut's real good for you. I bet that was. I bet humans ended up having to survive on coconuts. If you are taking vitamin D, you also need to take K2 so it gets properly assimilated. Yep. I wouldn't take too much vitamin D, or because I know that your body gets vitamin D from the sun, so I would suggest like sun exposure. But yeah, you could take vitamin D, I suppose. One thing I heard that you should not take is calcium supplements. I heard calcium supplements will eventually clog up your heart, so you have to watch out for that. Raw organic bee pollen is also the shiznit. Interesting. I also do that. I also do a little bit of honey every once in a while. But you know what else I heard is good for you is some vinegar. Vinegar? Yeah, maybe vinegar. I'm not sure. But I do love the little garlic or ginger sides they give you, which is supposed to clean your palate or whatever, but I'll just eat it. All right. All right. Well, let me just real quick. So I told you about how I think the people involved in the Aurora cover-up are eating each other alive right now, trying to cast the blame. And then there's the fact that in the beginning of the year, you know, post-election, post-exposure, the infamous Dan Oates, there's an accident in the DNA room, in the evidence room in Aurora, and suddenly all this rape case DNA evidence is destroyed. Well, how about it was never there? And you're saying that because you know the investigation's coming down on you. And there's a lot of evidence to indicate that people are just getting raped out there in Aurora, Colorado, and shit was getting covered up. So if you've got psyops happening in your county, you better damn well know to get up out of that county, dude. You do not want to be in that county because you got a creepy ass judge, you got a creepy ass police department, you got a creepy ass state that's willing to cover for them. You know, is that everywhere? You know, feasibly no. But the chief lawman, anywhere you're at, is that county sheriff. And when it comes down to it, it's his investigation. It's his authority that rules. So make sure you got you a good sheriff. And if you don't, get up out of that county right now. If you're watching this right now, you better get up out of that county. Maybe not. Maybe it's jumping the gun right now because what we see going on right now is good news. But well, I'm going to be heading out. I'm going to read these new comments real quick, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's see. You know I live here in Colorado. You live here too? No, I'm not in Colorado. And let's see. Kinatar, correct. Kinatar, apple cider vinegar. That's right. Apple cider vinegar comes from lopping heads. That's right. Kill up. It's been about an hour. See you tomorrow. All right, man. Thank you. All right. Take it easy.